Welcome back. Now, the Southeast remains one of Nigeria's most industrious regions, yet it continues to trail behind when it comes to federal infrastructure, investment, and political inclusion. And so today we'll unpack these disparities in Southeast development with Honorable Uche Onyagocha, a former member, Federal House of Representatives. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Right now, Honorable Onyagocha, you've been vocal about the current structure of Nigeria being unfair to the Southeast, especially in terms of federal appointments and resource control. Now, I'd like to know, why do you think that is so? Why do we have that situation in the country currently?
Well, the situation has arisen more by the fact of the dubious constitution we are operating in the country. Today, the single most dangerous document in Nigeria is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. That is a very dubious document. It is a fabrication and not the wish of the people. It is a decree and not the constitution of the people of Nigeria. The clause at the introduction of the constitution which says we the people is dubious and unacceptable. It was a document hurriedly prepared by Abdul Salam Abubakar out of panic, and he simply dumped it on Nigerians and left. As long as Nigeria continues to be run on the basis of the 1999 constitution, Igbos and many other groups that didn't have a hand in the making of the 1999 constitution will continue to suffer. So where to start is we must reject the 1999 constitution, and we must insist that a people's constitution must be made in Nigeria by Nigerians to govern Nigerians. This will resolve the issues of imbalance which the Igbos and many other groups in Nigeria are suffering. Anything short of this is a waste of time.
All right. All right. Thank you for that response. Now, can you briefly describe how you see the current development gaps between the Southeast and other regions in Nigeria currently?
Well, I have said that these gaps are already legally created, because if you look at the number of local government areas that Kano State and Jigawa State have gotten vis-a-vis the total number of local government areas that the entire Southeast has in the Constitution, is a very fatal injury. And unless it is corrected, this imbalance will continue to grow. The local governments were created by military dictators under Abacha and all the rest of them. And it didn't follow any yardstick that anybody should respect. Therefore, I see all the structural imbalance as still emanating from that constitution. And in whichever way you look at it, whether politically, whether by issue of zones as per the 5 states that we have in the Southeast, and whether it's even by way of siting of infrastructure, the Southeast is the biggest loser. I'll give you a very practical example. The most mobile ethnic group in Nigeria today is the Southeast. But anytime you talk about railway development, the South is excluded. They tell you such nonsense like Port Harcourt to Kano. That is not where the traffic is. The biggest human traffic today of goods and services is from the Southeast to the Southwest. But they are not interested in developing the railway in that direction. Why? Because because it suits their convenience. So these issues of imbalance are part of the reasons why Nigeria is not developing economically. You cannot exclude the hub of business development and expect your economy to grow. The Southeast are all over the country, the Igbos are all over the country, building industries and growing the economy. They are the only people that are moving 24 hours across the world, across the country, trying to set up infrastructure for the development of the economy. Yet everything is structured to hamstring them. That's why Nigeria is not making any progress.
All right. Now, you made mention of a structural imbalance. But then if Nigerians are aware that Abdul Salam Abubakar did not do justice to the 1999 Constitution, why have there not been any form of change or amendment at least? And then what is the barrier of, what is the barrier of a balanced inclusion for the Southeast people? And what would actually trigger a change that would positively impact the Igbos?
There have been amendments to the Constitution. Don't get me wrong. There have been amendments, but you cannot cure a major structural defect by amendment. It's like you have a one-story building and the foundation is structurally defective. No matter how many times you crack the wall and put one pillar at one point or the other, or crack the decking and put one pillar at one point or the other, it will not cure it. The only solution remains that the 1999 Constitution must be struck down and a new constitution made by the people of Nigeria is brought into being. We have been saying this. Abdul Salam Abubakar is alive and he's refusing. We have been taking him on this for a long time. We've been campaigning all over the world and all over the country that you have a defective constitution. That is why Nigeria is not working. You have a defective constitution. That is why good governance is far away from us. The judiciary is totally in a mess. The legislature is a complete mess. The executive is a gang of armed robbers. So unless you cure all this by totally striking down the constitution and making a people's constitution where the people will strictly say how they want to be governed. The INEC, as you have presently, can never organize a free and fair election. The police, as presently structured, can never reduce crime in Nigeria. The army, as presently structured, or the state security services, as presently structured, can never remove the insecurity challenge in Nigeria. That is why these problems continue to go on year in, year out. Because every of these structures on which Nigeria has been built is in a state of imbalance. And I want to make this point clear. Igbos are suffering as much as other ethnic groups. But I want to also add, Igbos are also not, other ethnic groups are also suffering very badly. But the problem with the Igbo people is that we abhor injustice. We are in a hurry to develop. We want to compete with the rest of the world. We want to compete with Europe, with America, with China, with Asia. The other people may not really be in a hurry to develop, and that's why they are not complaining as much as we, the Igbos. But the Nigerian system is so badly structured that there is just no way you can make progress. By any means, in any means you look at it.
Right.
So it is high time we sit down as a people and know that we now have to reach out to other ethnic divide and wake them up to the fact that we can no longer continue to run this country using the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That single, most dubious and dishonest document. It is the most dangerous document in the country today. And unless it is jettisoned, Nigeria will continue to go down the hills and down the drains until it totally collapses.
Now, speaking of structural imbalance, you've mentioned the issue of security in the southeast. And, you know, you've earlier linked bad governance and disregard for the rule of law as causes of insecurity in the southeast. So can you throw more light on that? What would you say are the governance failures that have accelerated the tension in the southeast, and how can these issues be rectified?
First, it all starts through the dubious elections we have been conducting in Nigeria. Most of the people who are rigged into power in the southeast are rigged from Abuja. Abuja manipulates the elections in the southeast much more than most parts of this country, so as to foist the wrong leaders on the people. So you have wrong representatives, and these wrong representatives cannot they do not understand the needs of their people, not to talk of addressing it. They are so far away from their people. They're even afraid of living amidst their people. They can't stay with their people without security. As I'm talking to you now, I am in my village, Umwagam Ubis, in Owerri West local government area. How many politicians go to their village and spend a week without police, without army, without dogs that will protect them? We must be able to have and elect leaders who must be attuned with their people, who must be able to discuss with their people as to the way forward to resolving the security challenge in their area. What is the business of the federal government continuing to arrest, detain, and dubiously pretend that it is prosecuting Nnamdi Kanu? And most of those who are even calling for the release of Nnamdi Kanu are not just calling for his release. They are missing a very strong element in the call for his release. He must be released unconditionally. He has a right to agitate for Biafra. His people have a right to agitate for Biafra. And the agitation for Biafra and the agitation for self-determination is protected under the Nigerian law. And yet we are pretending as if. I know as a fact that the reason why the federal government is having difficulty releasing Nnamdi is because they have tried to engage him to see whether he will renounce Biafra so that they will release him. And he has said no. And he does not have to renounce Biafra. They are afraid that if they release him, he will continue the agitation. But in a country that is not functioning, in a country that is not moving forward, why shouldn't they renounce the struggle for the agitation for Biafra? Because Nigeria is not moving forward. Tell me, can you explain the reason why most of those who were granted pardon by Mr. President are people who are involved in drug trafficking, people who are involved in all manner of criminal activities? And then you add the name of Herbert Macaulay in it in order to dilute the whole process. And everything about the election 2027 is being structured to rigging the election. Mr. President knows that it is wrong of him to be putting up his posters for 2027 election ahead of the election, but he has been putting it since in the last 1 year. So there is a total violation of everything. So why wouldn't there be security? Nigeria is a country where jungle justice is the only thing that suffices. The higher the ability you have to bear arms and show force, the more you'll be respected. Anybody who wants to play by the books, play by the rule of law, will be excluded and will be marginalized, will be abused and raped. So we are already in a state of anarchy. And that is the problem we are facing as of today, and that's why everybody is lamenting, but more particularly the Igbos, because we are Republican in nature and we abhor injustice. And at all times, we want to fight for an egalitarian society where everybody will have equal opportunity to develop. But Nigeria has no provision for that.
All right. Now, since you mentioned Nnamdi Kanu and the clemency that the president talked about, now I would like to understand, why do you think Sowore and the likes of Atiku all of a sudden became invested in issues affecting the Southeast? Because we are aware that they are planning
the answer is simple: political consideration. They want to gain political mileage by it. The impression is being given today as if Igbo people have not been clamoring for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. That's complete nonsense. Igbo people have been sitting at home every Monday for the past how many years for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. So what nonsense is anybody talking about? They just want to get political mileage from it. So people are free to also go and support them and play with them to let them know that we have always all been involved in it. All the Mondays that every Igbo man has locked his shops across the Southeast and beyond, it has not been for the agitation for Nnamdi Kanu. So what is new in what Sowore is calling for? What is new in what Atiku has been calling for? They're only trying to join the agitation. Does any court sit in the Southeast on Monday? Do banks function on Monday? Do markets open on Monday? Do shops and businesses open on Monday? Do ministries open on Monday? Has it not been the agitation for the release of Nnamdi Kanu? So what is all this? What is new about Sowore and Atiku? These are people who are interested in joining to get some political mileage out of it. We're not stupid.
Now, still looking at this issue of insecurity, you've mentioned that Igbos abhor injustice, and you believe that these feelings of injustice fuel this secessionist and self-determination agitation. So do you see any credible path that can lead to some sort of political dialogue or negotiation to address these grievances without descending into further violence?
I already told you that the only way forward is that we must sit down and frame for ourselves a new constitution. We don't have a constitution. We have a criminal document, a dubious government document that has been forced on us by the Abdul Salam Abubakar regime when they were fleeing from government. You know Abdul Salam Abubakar became president. Abdul Salam Abubakar became military head of state because Abacha suddenly died, and he was the highest in rank in the army and in the Armed Forces Ruling Council. So they simply handed over to him, and the guy was so confused, he didn't know what to do. He just wanted to grab the power, so he quickly concocted a transition government so that he could hand over as quickly as possible to avoid being killed. And he brought the legal advisor to Abacha, who at that time, I'm trying to remember his name, Professor Yadudu. Professor Yadudu. It was Professor Yadudu and a few friends of his who hurriedly crafted what we are using today as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. As at the date Obasanjo was sworn in as civilian president of Nigeria, May 29, 1999, and when the National Assembly was sworn in, no constitution was in place to be used. They just simply concocted it It's go there now. Normally, there is a procedure for you to make a constitution. None of the procedures was followed from beginning to the end. And none of the procedures that led to the production of the 1999 constitution was followed. So all these issues will be resolved only through a fresh constitution that must be made by the people that make up the Nigerian state. And they are afraid that if you come to make a new constitution, that all those who are enjoying advantages in the present 1999 constitution will lose the advantage. That is why some people are opposed to it. And unless you resolve this issue, you're wasting time. The insecurity challenge will remain there. The dubious electoral processes will go through every 4 years, will remain there. Bad leaders will be foisted on the country, and they will introduce dubious economic policies that will continue to ruin the economy of the Nigerian state. Tell me which aspect of Nigeria is functioning. How can you talk about the Lagos to Calabar Coastal Highway, a contract that runs into trillions of Nigeria, being awarded without following due process? The president just carries it and gives to whoever he likes and decides how much he awards and how he pays without passing through the National Assembly. What kind of a country is this? So the solution is simply put, we must come together and make for ourselves a constitution. What we presently have as Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 Constitution, is a dubious and a dangerous document which should be thrown away and burnt to ashes.
All right.
Anything short of that, we are wasting our time. Economic problems will remain there. The political problems will remain there. The insecurity problems will remain there. And all other problems that are holding Nigeria down will remain there. And all the pretense that people make when they say that Nigeria is one indivisible entity, that's complete nonsense. Bow the dash. It will not work. It's just a matter of time before the country collapses. The country is far gone, down the hills. What President Tinubu and his gang are doing is looting the resources of the country. Nothing more, nothing less. Look at Egypt, how they acquired it. Did they follow due process? At the time President Tinubu became president of Nigeria, Wando oil industry was bankrupt. In less than 1 year after he became president, Wando, which belongs to his brother, is now worth over trillions of naira. They suddenly own Egypt from being bankrupt, and they are acquiring other areas of the economy. But how much wealth do you need to acquire before you can say this greed? You must call it to order. Is there anything that has been put in place that will assure you that the 2027 election will be anything near to free and fair? So why would people want to participate? Is there any guarantee you have seen in INEC? Is it the way they have stifled Labour Party, the way they have created crisis in PDP are sponsoring the crisis, the way they are creating crisis in ADC and every other party because they want Bola Tinubu to run for election as a sole candidate in 2027 or as a sole candidate of APC with midgets hoisted in other parties so that he doesn't even need to come around to campaign. The truth is that Mr. President does not even have the health to go around the effective campaign across the 36 states of the Federation. And that's why they want to stifle every political party, to make sure that no party has a serious candidate, so that he can still sit in the villa and be declared winner of 2027 election, just like Paul Biya.
All right, Honorable Nyagocha. Now, apart from the sit at home and the insecurity that we have actually talked about as part of the disparities that the Southeast is witnessing, another issue is demolition of Igbo people's businesses, you know, across the West. What are your thoughts on that?
On the issue of demolition of Igbo people's properties in the southwest, I would say that I condemn it in its entirety. But at the same time, I want to point out that if only the Igbo people can bring you home 25%, not more than 25% of their wealth across the country, you will not recognize the Southeast. So as much as I condemn it, I say it is high time we start repatriating our wealth back home and develop it. There is none of these businesses that we are running outside Igbo land that you cannot run in Igbo land. So it is a clarion call on our people to start repatriating their wealth back home. And there is this thing I need to make very clear to you and every other person who is willing to listen, and that is the fact that if you look at it very clearly, very clearly, let's use Delta State for a start. Delta State is, as a state, is richer than Anambra State. But the people of Anambra State are richer than the people of Delta State. Akwa Ibom State is by far richer than Abia State as a state. But the people of Abia State are richer than the people of Akwa Ibom State. River State as a state is richer than Imo State. But the people of Imo State are richer than the people of River State. And bearing that in mind, I want to use this opportunity to encourage our people that in the midst of all that is happening, that we have to think inwards, look inwards, develop inwards. We will still engage Nigeria, but we have to take just 25% of our wealth back home. And the biggest challenge we face as a people is not from the ordinary rank and file of Igbo people. It is from the Igbo elites. Those ones who were always opposing a sit at home, who were always talking nonsense, creating the impression as if they are interested in Igbo economy, but who have no investment in Igbo land. Go and check the people who make the most noise about Igbo land. Check how much they are worth. Check their investment in Igbo land. It's next to nothing.
All right.
Not up to 5% of their wealth is in Igbo land. When they come to their village and build a house, and go to the state capital and build a hotel and another house, they say they have invested in Igbo land. That's complete nonsense.
All right. Honorable Uche Onyagocha, we apologize. We know that you have barely scratched the surface of this conversation, but we hope to revisit it some other day. Thank you so much for joining us.
God bless you.
Bless you too. And yes, we have come to the end of that conversation with Honorable Uche Onyagocha, the former member Federal House of Reps and the former secretary to the state government in Imo State. And we just spoke about Nigeria's Southeast development disparities. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll take a short break. Stay with us.